Some conversations are too interesting to stay buried. Between Two Urns is where history meets humanity, equal parts irreverent and insightful. Each episode digs up the stories, legacies, and lingering questions we leave behind. This interview-driven podcast brings you candid conversations with people whose lives, work, and passions shape the stories we carry forward in Ramsey County. From artists and educators to community leaders and unexpected voices, we explore what drives us, challenges us, and ultimately connects us. Blending humor, honesty, and a curiosity about the past and present, Between Two Urns proves that history isn't just something we inherit, it's something we live. Pull up a chair, the conversation is just getting started. We welcome today's guest, St. Paul resident Alan Howell. Alan brings more than 25 years of aviation design experience and a decade of diverse creative work to his role as senior airport architect at the Metropolitan Airports Commission. Guided by a vision to create exceptional airport experiences that help Minnesota thrive, he leads the design and redevelopment of airport facilities with a strong emphasis on sustainability, accessibility, and cross-disciplinary collaboration. Alan has contributed nationally to programs, including chairing a leading guide on airport terminal restroom design and advancing conversation on accessibility beyond ADA standards. A past president of AIA Minnesota's St. Paul chapter, he also serves on MSP Airport's Arts and Culture Committee, helping integrate public art into airport spaces. Outside of work, Alan restores his historic St. Paul home and performs in a post-punk band, Mucilage, bringing creativity to everything he does. All right, welcome.
Thank you,
Alan Howell.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'd like people to introduce themselves.
How do I do that?
Tell me, what do you do for a living?
Okay, we're Americans, so we're not going to talk about salaries, but we'll talk about what we do because that's important.
You know what? I didn't ask my friend her salary the other day, and she glossed over it, and I'm like, oh. And then I asked another friend once, I'm like, his friend or his father passed, and he was talking about money, and I asked him how much, and he's like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, oh. Money is weird for people. So.
Money is weird for people. Working for a governmental agency, ours is published. So folks know what we make, whether that's good or bad. And, from my standpoint, it is what it is. So hi, you are.
Hi.
I'm Alan.
So how much do you make, Alan?
I think the important thing is when I'm out busking, I make $0. It's really crazy. I'll be out there playing and
how
playing.
How much do you make in music?
We made $7.50 in the last 6 months.
Off Spotify?
No, from Bandcamp.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, Spotify, we've had like 69 listens so far.
So that's 5 cents.
And most of it's us. And it's less than a penny.
Okay.
They starting to dole out money after like 1,000 plays, which equates to less than a penny.
Did you know there's a band that made a silent album that they asked their fans to continually play and repeat? And then they use that money to fund their tour for those fans that did that for them.
That is so smart. Did they threaten to play the first album, like both sides, live? Oh, this is the really quiet part on side 2.
Is this mic on? All right. let's get to it. So tell me about your work.
My work. So I should. I usually try to apologize for myself, so I'm going to try not to do that tonight.
Okay.
I'm Alan. You and I have known each other for a while. We live in the same neighborhood, which is fabulous.
I found out coincidentally because you were showing me maps of the neighborhood, and I'm like, I live right there. And then you showed my colleague, Sam, and then you showed our mayor at the time, Mayor Carter.
And he runs by my house all the time.
Current mayor, lame duck is the term. Because he'll be.
We should not talk politics.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not politics. It's just.
It is a thing. It's just then I'm going to apply the label to everything. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to change a D to an F, and it's going to be a terrible discussion we'll have.
All right. Should we start again?
No, because.
That's the longest intro.
This is like gold.
So I heard once that there's traces of gold in fingernails. So if you're looking for a retirement plan, just save those clippings.
Save the pretties.
Yeah.
Really, traces?
We're all minerals, like.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I was recently at the airport.
You were at the airport.
Terminal
I work
2?
at the airport.
You work at the airport.
Terminal 2.
And
Excellent.
I was at Terminal 2. And
that is just the That's the other terminal. That's not the smaller airport or the St. Paul airport. That's just Terminal 2 at MSP. Excellent. Some folks confuse that every now and again. It's okay.
How long have you worked for the MAC? Is it the MAC or MAC?
Well, it depends on what you're saying. Okay. I believe our old style guide used to say it's the Metropolitan Airports Commission or MAC. But there are newer folks who are changing our style guide, so I may have to be more flexible than I actually am. The funny thing, please, no one take offense to this. It's the best international airport with chartered and scheduled service in at least the 9-county metro area.
Who would take offense to that?
Like everyone I work with.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll cut that out.
Sure. Okay. And what's your role there?
So I worked for the MAC for almost 20 years now, and worked on campus. The first project I figured out I did was started in December of 1995. So almost 30 years. Okay. Now, that was a model for Fire Horizon Studios. There's no plug there, Bob. For a canopy out in front of Terminal 2, which was not constructed the way I built it for the architects who were doing the project. So I don't know if that actually counts as working on site since 1995, but it's kind of fun to say it's been a long time.
You were a contractor? Is that what
I was building models. I was sorry, at the time I was drawing some houses for a gentleman who became a contractor. I was building models. We were doing some design build work with another firm, and I was programming process control systems for my dad at the same time. Make ends meet. As everyone says, no.
Okay.
But
so let's talk about money again.
As every architect says that as they come out of school, there were no jobs. No matter what year they come out of school, there are no jobs.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard. And then the economy, since I've graduated, did the same thing like this that it did since like 1968. I just got to experience that, and I hadn't experienced that before that. So, yes, I worked with Mac for about 20 years. The first real projects I got to do one was with Shea Architect on F Concourse. It was a small retail shop. Doesn't exist anymore. And it was actually on Red Concourse at the time.
Which doesn't exist anymore either.
We just call it something different.
What is it now? E?
F.
F, okay.
Yeah. So Pier C became F.
Okay.
Became Red first.
What do you think about the constant change that's happening at the airport? I feel like every time I go there, there is change. And that's a constant in life in general, right? But at the airport, it's like it's new every day.
You know, I wonder about that a lot. If you talk to a lot of airport operators and designers for airports are changing all the time because we usually have fairly large building programs that build, and then by the time you're done with that, there's actually another change that's needed elsewhere because it's been 10 years or 20 years or 25 years, and the infrastructure is old, or the airplanes have changed, or you've been dehubbed or you've been hubbed, or, there's been other growth or other changes. So that's kind of the norm. And I know it's a little bit strange. For folks that fly all the time, I do wonder, does it feel like we're just always under construction and we're never done? Or does it feel like you're saying that every time I'm there, it seems like there's a new change or there's new construction? And, I think a lot of our hopes are that the work that we're doing is beneficial for the passenger, number one, fits our long-term plans, provides the opportunity for growth for the economic engine that the airport is, and surprises and delights you just a little bit because you didn't expect to see or experience what you were. I'll use the couple examples if I can. One would be restrooms. You remember all the restroom program that we have going on and will have going on until 2068 when we start over again, is really about trying to make certain that we've got the right facilities in the right locations and the right size, and that we can actually maintain them, that they're cleanable, that they're safer, that they've got the right lighting solutions, that they have the right opportunities for folks, whether it's a lactation room or a service animal relief or nursing room or, a companion care room or a single user restroom with change table, whatever it might be. Those things over time we've seen change and evolve, both within the industry, in larger groups like at the University of Minnesota or elsewhere. And we learn from what other folks are doing, and then we get to implement those things. And those changes take time. We started working on the restroom program in 2009, and it's 2025 today. And so that's a few years.
Wait, so you started working on it in 2029, but then when did
2009, sorry.
Yes, we're going into the future. So 2009.
I like to think about
Yeah.
the future a lot. We'll get there in a minute.
So 2009, but that's when you started. But when did you start building?
So the first one, we started construction in early 2012. We bid our
So 3 years.
2011 and 2012 projects almost simultaneously
Okay.
at near E8 and F8. So both those concourses. And our first year was really background information gathering. What are we doing? What are we looking at? So we surveyed every single restroom that Mac owned. So we surveyed first. We found out what was really working, what was not working. A lot of things such as stall doors opening in doesn't really work when you've got luggage or you've got a child with you or you're traveling or you're tired or whatever. And we started to develop certain calculations about distances between them. What size should they be in order to kind of take care of the numbers of people that are coming off the aircraft, because that's kind of the bigger line that's going to be caused, rather than folks that have arrived and are waiting at the gate for 2 hours before their flight. Thank you, people. We're glad you're here early, but my goodness, there's other things to do than just sit.
People have anxiety. They need to get there in time.
Traveling is scary.
I know. Well,
Traveling is always really hard.
2 years ago, I showed up to Terminal 2, and it was an hour wait for TSA.
Yeah.
My mom and I, when we traveled a couple weeks ago, there was nobody in line. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm unsure what's happening here. I mean, there was a government shutdown at that time too. So
The thing that we know, the thing that we're in control of is very little. But from a design standpoint, we're always looking to provide the right facility. So for T1 and T2, both for checkpoints, we do modeling, which shows simulations and visualizations to see how does the curbside work, to the check-in operations through TSA, knowing what their equipment looks like and what their expectations are for the percentage of passengers that may be pre-check or clear pre-check or standard passengers or what have you. And so we try to design the right facility with a design day, out here right now it's 2035 for T1, Terminal 1, which means at some point it's going to feel crowded again, even when it's not as busy as it should be. But that idea that the systems are working right is great, because that means the facility was sized properly. Staffing showed up properly, both for the airlines and TSA, that there was no snowstorm outside. There wasn't enough construction on the roads in your way to get there, so you weren't stuck in too much additional traffic. And that we have programs in place that actually help folks know how to use and operate the airport to make certain that folks that have more fears or more challenges can actually test out systems before they arrive. So when they do go through security, it's like, I've done this before. I know how to do this, and I'm less scared than I would have been otherwise. So our Navigating MSP is one of those programs. So facilities, staff, technology, and programs. And TSA's technologies we've seen improving throughput as well at checkpoints. And those are all good things that hopefully turned out better for you because folks are showing up and we've got the technology that's working in programs and staff. So building the right facility is a good start.
Well, so we had a layover in Denver.
Yeah.
And bathrooms there are stalls on one side, and you have to go around a wall to go to wash your hands. And I come out of the stall, I'm like, where do I wash my hands? I had to go all the way around, and I'm like, well, I guess. And then another lady walked around. She's like, what a horrible design. She was talking to her friend. I'm like, if I'm saying it and she's saying it, we're not the only people thinking this.
You're probably not. Denver opened, 1992, 93 or so, as a brand new airport. First brand new airport in a very, very long time. It was the best design at the time.
Sure.
So it's interesting that things have changed dramatically from MSP's model is I've got stalls in the men's room, I've got stalls and urinals, and directly across from that, I have my trough type sinks.
Yes.
Where I can't leave my glasses because there's a nice counter in front that I can put my glasses on. So it's really also a different way of thinking about how things are. But our idea was just that efficiency of, I want to move you from one thing to the next, have you do that, grab your paper towel, dry your hands, leave. I don't want you dripping water across the floor to go find paper towels.
Which can be dangerous.
Which can be very dangerous. And so that idea of efficiency, safety, lighting your face so we know what we look like. And if I look tired, I look tired, but at least I know. And it's just like, and I don't look more tired than I actually am, which is a helpful thing too. So again, that idea of passenger-centric design, if you're thinking about it as a hospitality, that's the best thing. And at MSP, we make really good hallways, but I think based on where we are we can also make really good memories, especially with the art program
Mm-hmm.
and including live performances and other things like that that happen. It's
So
a fun,
tell me,
fun place to be.
you talked about the restroom programming. How did you integrate art into that, and why did you integrate art into that? Number one. And then number two, it was right around this time last year that RCHS toured the airport.
Mhm.
There were what, three of us? Four of
Yeah,
us there.
yeah.
But the gentleman that came with us, Rick Wilhoit, who is on our board, he and I were talking the other day, and I mentioned that, and he's like, oh, I always think about when you go to the airport and all the effort that goes into doing art, but people are so busy and going through, do they appreciate it? Do they even notice? And I'm like, it doesn't have to always be, I'm going to sit here and notice it. It could just be an overall thing. But then why do you continue to do it if somebody is just in a rush? So tell me about how the restrooms came about.
So your
There's
second
two
question
questions.
is asking about how do you judge success?
Right.
So that's a good question. So going to the first one, how did we get mosaics and
Well, why
art
did you want to
cases
do that?
into the program?
How did you come up with that idea?
Well, we have a really good team. So I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you remember. Oh, I just winked.
Yeah, but it's
So
got
I
it's
was
got to
winking.
be somebody's idea. That
So there
is
there
the-
there are lots of us that are at the table, and luckily,
Okay.
a lot of us have seen a lot of things at a lot of airports. And so one of the things that I like to do is look at precedents. What of this program type has happened elsewhere? You look at Miami. In Miami, at their entry sequence, they had these very large glass pieces of art, maybe. Those were flowers. And then I think Tampa had big stick figure type art things.
Okay.
So that idea of art as an entry sequence existed. So again, not new.
Sure.
And so either it's a very neutral experience throughout the entire thing with really good lighting and classical music overhead and no smells and paper towels that are right there and baby changing table and everything that we need.
And no
Um,
sinks around the corner.
And no sinks, no sinks on the other side of a wall.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that entry sequence trying to confront you with something was what we talked about and what we thought about of how do we draw you in? Because at the airport, we tend to, at least on the concourses that we have today, we tend to not have any walls available or any
Why
floor
is that?
space available for art
Why is that?
because they're not our space.
It's for advertising.
We've leased it out for advertising,
Mm.
or it's a tenant space. So it's the front of a concessions or the front of a news and gifts, or it's actually airline space, or it's an airline club. And so there's no space available. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta uses their entire tramway, their tunnel level for art. It's amazing. We don't quite have that either. So selfishly, we had a nascent art program that we had the master plan approved for in 2008 and no budget for things yet, which meant we had to ask permission to do things. But we had a really resilient team, Diane Dombrock, Jana Webster, Phil Burke, myself, some others that were working both on the restroom program as well as actually moving forward than just floor mosaics. So we had a floor mosaic program. The last one we did was 2005. So this is now 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. It's been a while since we've done any artwork. So the LRT had floor mosaics and some additional artwork at the T2 station. Terminal 2 had some that happened 2002 when it opened. And then our North Terminal expansion in 2005 had floor mosaics. But we didn't have anything else and we didn't have the program moving forward. So the thinking was, what can we do? How do we do it? Why do we do it? If this is the only space that the airport controls, we need to provide passengers with flight information. And luckily, by that point in time, MAC had started providing all the flight information throughout both terminals. So all airlines showed up on the screens. Delta only had their own, Northwest at the time. United had down near the gate lobby, a small black and white monitor. I think American had something similar, and maybe it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
But knowing that we were replacing those systems, it allowed us to have all the flight information showing up at all locations. And so there was supposed to be about 5 hours worth of flights out there. And if I was going to Madison, I was going on, Delta, it would show up here. If I was going on United, it would show up there. And it was alphabetical by city, very easy to find. Told me which gate. It told me, what the airline is, if there was a partner airline, if it was on time, delayed, etc. All really good information. So that was built into the program. We said we have to provide that. We looked at trying to combine emergency telephones at the same location AEDs, so you've got the ability to call 911 as well as grab an AED if you need to.
So these weren't in place before?
These were in places, but they weren't consolidated. And so the idea today with the consolidation, the first rounds of restroom upgrades through about 2015 consolidated about 17 restrooms down to about, I think it's 8. And so I'll use F Concourse as the example. There were 6 restroom sets. Now there are 2. E-Concourse, there were 5 restroom sets. Now there are 2. And they provided us with additional concession space. They provided restrooms that you walk past every 4 gates or so. So less than every minute 30 as you're walking normally.
Mm-hmm.
And so the right location.
For my mom, probably less.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're running,
Yeah.
if you're crawling, it may be less if you're distracted. So trying to consolidate things, provide better locations for other opportunities like concessions was really a big part of the 2014-2015 program, which was great. We were consolidating checkpoints. We were rebidding an RFP. So AEDs, emergency telephones, flight information displays, and then we had the opportunity to have ancillary spaces involved as well. So on F Concourse, we have a service animal relief area. Near F1, we've got a lactation room. We've got a nursing room down near F3. At F8, in the first sets, we had, what's a single user restroom look like? We called it family restroom and companion care, and now it's restroom. You lock the door, you use it, it's all good. And so it gave us the opportunity to rethink where we had these items scattered or sprinkled throughout, so that from a wayfinding standpoint, here's a restroom. We did something overhead, we did something on the floor at the time. This is max space. This is the airport providing you with this service. And it's about the only time that we got to do something for you. Otherwise, it was usually a tenant doing something for you, providing you the airplane you're going to fly on for the ticket you bought. If you were buying coffee, you were not buying it from the airport. So it was an opportunity for us to take something and give back. And the master plan said that we should be incorporating art into programs. So we have this space as we walk in, we could have an artist design something for that entry sequence and install that. And so we thought about that, and we talked to a lot of folks. Sue Jens with the state of Minnesota was one of the folks that we talked with in terms of how do we go about commissioning this work. This is what we're thinking of, and she advised us very well, I think. And we ended up with 2 artists for the first 2 restrooms, for the mosaics, and those were fabulous and really lucky for us because it taught us that if we had had one artist design everything and do all the fabrication and installation and do that for the next 100 sets through 2068, it's probably not the same artist in 2068 as it is today. So what we actually found was it was about the same cost to have a new artist do every single new set of restrooms, which is just fabulous.
Well, that gives equity too to artists.
It does. It allows us to expand and invite more of the community in to help represent what is Minnesota like.
Right. Coming from an artist's standpoint too, when the same artists are rewarded the same thing over again, it becomes a monopoly where you're just like, how do I get a part of that?
Right.
Only one person can be part of this program. And I think to be equitable is so much more important.
And the things that we've learned most recently, I think Ben Owen's current director of Arts at MSP, and he brought in for our selection for the arrivals level an artist's work that were paintings, and she was not a mosaic artist. And so pairing her with a fabricator and installer was a great piece. She worked to make certain that it matched exactly what her vision was, but she was not a mosaic artist. We had mostly mosaic artists up to that point doing work for us. And so that was a bit of a departure too, and expanded the network of folks that we now have access to. We got there with the artwork by doing hard things and working together and figuring out how do we do these processes.
Okay.
Knowing that other groups have done these at other airports successfully, it's not a terrible issue. We should be able to figure this out.
How do you measure what's successful with that then?
So that was your second question of how do you actually measure success?
I remember when Gail King posted about the bathrooms.
She was in town for a terrible event. She was covering a child who had been abducted in Wisconsin, came through MSP. But she posted 2 videos here. Was that Instagram she posted it on? And just talking about how she was just overwhelmed with how gracious the restrooms are in terms of trying to take care of people as they come in and come out?
I feel there's a lot of intention with
Yeah.
the restrooms
Yeah.
because that's what is most important to me when I'm at an airport.
It's
And
the number one and number two thing you might
What's
need at an
number?
airport.
My niece asked me, she's like, "What's number 3?" I'm like, I
Well,
don't know. Both together, I guess.
yeah, some people have said that that's, yeah.
Is that your joke?
No, but I think you could go with a number 3 that's, yeah.
All right.
But it, number 1 and number 2,
Yes.
restroom humor, it's all good. It makes us laugh. We do various serious things, but we don't necessarily have to take ourselves that
There you go.
seriously, and we better enjoy what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, the thoughtfulness, how do we take care of you? What do you actually need? Why do you need it? The difference between the men's room and the women's room is the men's room has urinals. Otherwise, it's the same facility. The women's room should have double the number of fixtures as well, but really the only difference is the men's room has urinals. Not saying we're all the same, but we have very similar needs in terms of if I'm shaving, I need a makeup mirror. I need to be able to look at my face. I need to be able to plug something in. I need a shelf. I need a mirror. I need to be able to see. I don't need shadows this way. If I'm washing my hands, I need to be able to find the soap, find the water. I need to be able to pull a paper towel and dry my hands. Very simple things. But we were really lucky with the restroom program because we got to have 1,000 good ideas all in one spot and do them all simultaneously. And we're working on a program right now to kind of update the original prototypes to where we are with our current learning because we've looked at that program as a continuous improvement program. So every time we do something, we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out what did we learn from this? What are the things we did well and we changed from the last ones to this? And what's the next thing we're going to do to make this even better for folks? Because for me, it's not necessarily comparing ourselves with another airport. It's comparing ourselves with how well can we work? How well can we operate? How good can design be for folks and still make it affordable? Knowing that a lot of the restrooms that we build are going to be around 50, 60 years from now. And that's not normal for most folks thinking about the age of things. When's the last time you used a 68-year-old restroom?
Probably at the airport.
Yeah, which is just not anywhere else in the world. And so it's interesting that way of thinking what we do will last a long time and we tend not to change them dramatically.
So outside of the restrooms, then
How do we measure
how
success?
do you measure success, and why, even if somebody doesn't pay attention to it, peripherally will absorb it? Like, why do that if it's not going to be the important thing? People want to get to their gates. They're anxious about getting through TSA.
Absolutely. And business travelers used to show up just, shortest amount of time they could get to before their flight. And if they need to use the restroom, certainly use a restroom, but it's certainly not, these things are not top of mind for folks that do this all the time. Hopefully there's benefit for folks that need to use a restroom quickly and are in a rush and do this all the time because we've made them very efficient. On the other hand, we've heard from some travelers that they love the mosaics and they find that there are different ones at every single restroom set and they go on a little treasure hunt. It's like, fabulous, you do that. We've given you the opportunity to do rubbings of the didactic for them. Absolutely. I mean, so there's a playfulness to it, first off, that just says, if you want to wear your children out, let's go see all the restroom mosaics.
Even at Terminal 1, Terminal 2, when your flight's about to.
Yes, exactly. It's a good thing. But measuring success is really hard. We get compliments and complaints about everything. And that's great because we can learn from that data set. But how many of you have ever submitted a compliment or a complaint when you're traveling? It takes time. You have to be really committed to what it is you're going to say and why you're going to say it. And so that's one data set where you could measure compliments and complaints, or where you could measure success or not success. And we've seen that in things where we have long lines and somebody complains about it because they had, a 45-minute wait in a TSA checkpoint. And so we hear about that. That's great to hear about. I don't know that that means that we designed anything wrong or that it was operated wrong. But on that particular day, at that particular hour, we can look at the data and we can go back to video and we can look at the analytics and we can find out why and how we can avoid doing that in the future. For kind of a memorable experience like art, I think if you were trying to hit 100% of the people with an experience, we're probably in the wrong profession, either architecturally or from an art standpoint. There are going to be a lot of folks that it's not their reason to be at the airport is to enjoy the art. It's to get on the plane, it's to go visit grandma or go to a funeral or go celebrate Thanksgiving or whatever it might be. And there are some other bonuses. There might be the coffee brand you like. And so all of a sudden you're happy because you can buy your coffee brand you like. Some will be intentional, others will not be intentional. The idea that we provide this other opportunity, we talked a little bit about C18 on that tour. C18 is our short film space down, I think it's between C17 and C19. And, it's a space that's not a gate lobby. We're not asking you to pay anything. We're showing short films. Sometimes we'll have performances there. If you wanted to just rest, you could do that. If you wanted to plug your laptop in and charge it and do some work, you could do that there. So providing experiences that are not just paid experiences, you already paid a lot to get through security. You bought an airplane ticket. That idea that you could sit and see gallery on a day like today with the sun shining in on you and looking at artwork, it's a fabulous opportunity. And some of the spaces that we've used for that used to be just very functional spaces. Sea Gallery used to be a space where we charge carts. And so a lot of the day and night, you'd see carts charging there. They charge on an old bridge to E-Concourse now, but what would we do with that space? Well, we turn it into a gallery with public seating. C18 was a storage space that we had tried to lease out to food vendors for years. And
nobody wanted it.
Nobody bid on it. We had two of those spaces. One is our trainer plane now, and the other is C18. And so these were opportunities for space on a public level that allow us to have a different program than other airports. And I personally thought as part of the team that put together the master plan and really thought about how do we integrate it into programs or how do we create new programs to do these things, something like C18 was coming just after the Sea Gallery was a great opportunity because we had not seen another airport do this except for Miami doing pop-ups. And we're still programming it today. And, so it went live in spring of 2014 and here it is 2025. That's pretty cool. But it's also interesting because how do we judge success? So when I walk into the space and there are 12 people in there and 2 are watching, I don't know that I feel bad. The other 9, 12 minus 2 would be 11, 10. There we go. The other folks that are sitting in the space have had the opportunity to watch what's on screen. It's closed captioned. It's beautiful to look at. It's not too loud, so it's not overpowering. You can hear it from wherever you are in the space. We have telecoil underneath the floor. So if you've got an implant or you've got a hearing aid and you've got your T-coil on, you can also hear what's being broadcast, which is great. Or you could just do work and just not be in the gate lobby. And maybe the gate lobby is too full and you're in the last zone, or you're a business traveler and you're in the first zone, but you did not get on, whatever it might be. We've given you that opportunity. I think the mosaics and the concourse art cases were the same type of thing of how do we take this max space that we have? We've consolidated so much. We've increased revenue generating capabilities on these concourses by consolidation. How do we provide to folks something that shows a little bit more about Minnesota without you having to pay for something?
Well, I mean, in the carousels.
And the carousels, exactly.
You don't have to pay to go see those.
Don't have to pay to. No, you could just be a meet or greeter or just show up at the airport. The carousels were fun too.
Well, I brought my niece to come see them before, it officially launched, and we walked in. She's like, "Where are the horses?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I thought we were going to see a carousel."
There's that.
So it's not that. Can you tell me about the carousels?
About baggage claim, about our arrivals hall.
Yes.
Certainly, yeah. And it was fabulous because Taylor Luen, you were able to get us in contact with a great artist. So we should start. We have 11 new carousels with the Operational Improvements Program. We started that construction, design and construction about 2013, 2014. I'm going to do a sound interpretation for you, so I apologize, because this is the hockey goal from 1983 sound. That was the sound that these pieces of equipment made, and had been making
to announce the bags.
To announce that the bags were coming, that the machine was going to start up and bags were coming. It's more about the machine starting up than telling you that there were going to be bags coming. because again, it's a piece of industrial equipment. It's rare that we get to stand around a piece of industrial equipment, but at the airport, you get to be, on an airplane, you get to be on a passenger boarding bridge, you get to be around carousels, you get to be near, conveyor systems. Cool. But yeah, so we had this wonderful semaphore and horn sound, and we talked about what could it be. The joke in my mind was always, well, if it were Vegas, it would be a slot machine paying out a lot of money, wouldn't it? And I don't know why they haven't done that, because they could do that. Why don't they do that? So we had this very long discussion about how could we create an environment so that that this very dangerous machine, you should not be on it when we start up.
Sure.
You should never sit on it. And we always have signs and everything else like that. We have these wonderful digital displays that are usually advertising. They all work in concert with each other, which is great. So if they're rotating at the same time. If there's static or changing, they change at the same time, and that's wonderful. But we also then use it for the announcement. So we've got a written announcement that shows up on top of that with an aurora that shows up, which is gorgeous. The device itself is our inbound baggage handling system. So we would call it our inbound BHS, because we love acronyms. And so the BHS, from that standpoint, is a piece of equipment that, we want to make certain we're always careful with. But you've also got bags that are going to show up that are pretty heavy. And everyone always seems to want to get their bag first.
Yes.
And even if their bag is not coming out first. And so we did social engineering with this. But we also said, what could that sound be that could evoke a little bit of Minnesota? So working with Taylor was fabulous, because we said, from this charter standpoint, we want collected sounds, and we have the ability to do three-dimensional sound within the space.
Oh, okay.
So one of the
I guess I've never noticed that.
Well, that's because we didn't do that.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But with three-dimensional sound in the space, we could have had geese coming from the back and over the top. We could have had bison, charging through the space with hooves pounding, and everyone said, "You're not going to do that." I said, "Okay, we're not going to do that." But Taylor provided us with, so we developed what we're going to do. And so we have lights that show up that look like sunlight on rippling water being reflected back against trees or the underside of a bridge. So, you're getting this idea of 10,000 lakes, 11,842 lakes, without specifically saying water. So we're giving you a sense of place without telling you what it is. But then Taylor was able to do all sorts of recordings, coupled with some of the recordings that we had licensed already. And so we thought waterfalls are going to be fabulous. Waves are going to be excellent. We should be trying, babbling brooks and streams and the river sounds. And we should have birds, because we're in a flyway. We've got, the whole Mississippi River coming up. So it's a major flyway. Folks are always watching eagles when we're down a little bit further south of the cities. You've got red-tailed hawks still in the valley looking for everything. It's an amazing thing. And we tried a bunch of things, and we took all those sounds, and I think you'll recall this, and we had Delta, and we had MAC personnel and MAC staff and other senior officials come down and help us, so that we could play the sounds and make certain that we were selecting things that it wasn't what we liked.
Right.
But it worked within the space for everyone and made sense. And so we really got to birds, because you couldn't hear waterfalls or waves crashing or a babbling brook.
The levels were...
It was lost.
Got it.
I was so interested in Canada geese just coming across, and so we played some of those songs, and Delta was very kind to us and said, "Well, these are fine, but the goose sounds like the equipment's broken. You can't use geese." And they were not wrong.
Okay.
Because we played, I think we had 3 recordings of geese, and it's like, these are so cool. And you play them in the space, and it's like, yeah, what's wrong with the equipment?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's broken. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. But the other sounds, chickadees, cardinals, sparrows, robins, blue jays, etc., mixed, work really well in the space. And then obviously we're lucky that most of the nation has loons, but loon is the state bird here.
Yes.
And so we have a lot of loons. We have 2 separate loon sounds, but we have all of these sounds anonymized in terms of selecting which one's going to show up.
Okay.
So as you choose randomly, the computer chooses randomly which one's going to play. It shouldn't play the same one each time.
Okay.
And we did that because there are folks that work down there all the time
Yeah, and they have to listen to
and
it.
they have to listen to it all day long. And so if that machine turns on 20 times during your shift
Yes.
and it's the same sound every time,
Yeah.
you may not like us. And we really want to make certain that
They won't like you for other reasons, but that's the one
yeah,
reason.
we
that
don't
they-
have to add to it.
Yeah.
How's that? So the idea that we could do something that actually represents sense of place, but also is randomized so that we're making a space that is slightly changeable without a lot of work was really fun to do that. And it was really good in terms of here's the concept, here's the idea, here it is tested in the space. Now it's live. Here it goes. And we've had some complaints, and we've had, a lot of folks say, wow, it's loons. That's so cool.
Sure.
And it's like, well, that's because you got loons today. You could have had sparrows.
Yeah.
Would you have said the same thing about sparrows? I don't know.
I mean, I'm not into birds, so I wouldn't be able to tell. I know what a loon sounds like, but I wouldn't be able to tell different bird sounds. So, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So this could be your job type situation or just as an architect in general. And your answer would be different than anybody else's answer too. What do you want people to bring to you when they have a project for you? If I'm a client that is coming to you and saying, I need a house built, or I'm working on a project that I need this, what do you want from me?
So I may have a different answer, though. What I'm usually looking for from a stakeholder is engagement so that you're invested in the process, that we're open to ideas, but we also need to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. And that's hard because a lot of times without precedent study will come with preconceived notions. Oh, yes, it's going to be a blue cube. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, good. Well, here's your blue cube. And it's a slightly different size. It's a little bit of a joke, but not too terribly much of a joke. and using me as the example, I get to work with our concessions team all the time. And I said, please don't ask me to ever design one of your concession spaces because I just ask you to put an Apple store in, even if it's not an Apple store. And so don't ask me what you want there and how you want things. So what we're trying to do with a lot of our processes, whether we're working with a tenant and we're providing some critique or some suggestions, is making things accessible and understanding why. What does universal access mean? What does that look like? Who does that reach? Why is that a good thing? How do we help that out? Knowing that your plan or what's in your head in terms of a precedent may not have any of that in there. So that open-mindedness is a hard thing on both sides. But there's that, but there's also the engagement that throughout the entire process, we're on the path together. Pastor Ashita Moore just presented to us in a forum at church last week, and I really want to steal this from her because it was about racial justice, but it could also be used from a project management standpoint. There's charity. Charity's fine, but it may not match what your needs actually are. The second piece was collaboration, where oh yeah, I can work with you, and we can work on this project, and then that's the end of the relationship, and that's fine, but may not achieve all the goals that maybe we might both have for a longer term. And so her third word, which I think is where I really want to be from the standpoint of being staff and being staff architect, is that indeed she used the word covenant, and I think I want to use the word more like commitment, that says we're going to start working together here, and we're going to work on a lot of things, and then hopefully we'll continue working together for this long, and we'll get to see the maturation and the changes together and be able to understand each other better and be able to not anticipate what each other's needs are, but be able to understand how can I approach the issues you're bringing forward to me so that we can get to solutions maybe more quickly together, or in a surprising, delightful way, or stumble upon something together that we're both enamored with, which is very different than a relationship between an architect and a family in Florence in the 1500s. It's like, you shall build me a palace, and Brunelleschi builds the best palace. These relationships are hard because we're always going to be asking difficult questions, and we may be asking questions that we don't know any answers to, and that you may also not know any answers to, or that we may think we have answers to, and they may be completely, perfectly right, but they may be fine. And the question is then, how do we develop solutions that are more than fine for us?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just about, well, my first thought was this is what we should do. This is how we need to accomplish it. You should run along with me. It's like, nope, we need to figure this out together. It's going to take a lot of work. So
So
engagement
it's
is
relationship building more than
it is. And
like...
I wish I were better at relationships because really I want to be more of a tool for folks. I
Sure.
want to be a resource. I want to be how you accomplish the work you want to do.
I
And
think
that's
that,
hard.
but that's a never-ending struggle, and I don't know if struggle is the right word. Something that you're shifting all the time
Mhm.
as you're getting older and
Oh, and
figuring
we all
out.
know
Yeah,
more than we did yesterday.
yeah,
And we all know then that the more that we know is we know how little we know,
sure,
which is just also fabulous for us older people.
yeah.
It was so good when we have the braveness to just do things we had no clue about, right?
Yes, but also inefficient.
Inefficient. I was in a text conversation with a friend of mine in Portland, and he said, when we were younger, we were very brash and we knew everything. And he said, and we didn't. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
But there was a bravery that went along with that I think you can still have even as you know how little we know.
Yeah.
And continue that bravery to try and do things that may seem out of reach. And I think that's great.
Hmm.
That idea that, yeah, we can accomplish this pretty easily, or I don't know what this is,
Mm-hmm.
but could we get there together? I don't know what that is.
Maybe you never will.
Maybe I never will. But with as many programs as we have, that's our opportunity to see what did we learn last time?
Yeah.
What can we improve this time? Even just those small steps start getting us towards that higher goal of more than just good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you talk about sense of place a lot.
Sure.
Tell me about your place in St. Paul.
So I have a hard time with my place in St. Paul.
Okay.
I'm not from St. Paul. I live there. I've lived there 32 years now.
I feel like, especially St. Paul.
Yeah.
I've lived there since 2011, so less than you. But St. Paulites, I don't know what residents are. St. Paul people call themselves, but they're very protective in the sense that they're like, I've lived here longer than you, so I not own this place, but
there's a real sense of ownership that I see, and it's not
that's
wrong.
not a bad thing, yeah.
No, and I think it's true everywhere. My idea, and I think I've shared this with you before. My grandparents bought a farm in the late 40s near Galene, Michigan, so just a couple miles out of town, small town. And
is that a song?
No, that's politics. And and they were always the folks who bought so and so's farm.
Okay.
Even though they lived in that house for more than 50 years.
Sure.
They were always new.
Oh.
Now, the house was built in like 1878 or no, it had to be before that. Maybe it was 1848 because there was a claim that there was a bullet lodged in it still from the Civil War. It's like, well, it didn't get that far north, but okay. But
that was a very strong
really
bullet that it went, yeah.
really far north. You know that, right?
That bullet just traveled from the side.
I'd almost buy like the Ohio War, but
yeah.
That was no. So it was an old house.
Sure.
They bought it. It must have been 100 years old at that point in time. And the farm was still the farm and this, that, and the other thing. But they were always new.
And it was always called
always somebody else's farm. Okay. Oh, you live on so-and-so's farm. Okay. And it's like, so I don't, to me, that means that St. Paul is a great place because everyone takes ownership, number one. Number two, there are so many folks with roots. The gentleman across the street from my house, his grandfather lived there for decades and decades and decades. Next door to us, the house has been in the family for 75 years more. Folks that are there have roots in the neighborhood. And even the folks that move away and come back still have roots in the neighborhood, even if they were gone for a good period of time. So it's really interesting. So I'll always be new in my mind to the neighborhood just because there is enough history there. And, I'm owner number 8 of my house. Sure. And hopefully there are going to be 20 more owners of my house after me. So I'm just a steward for a short period of time. But St. Paul is interesting because, again, there are so many of these layers of ownership. So thinking about that, we were doing a walkthrough in St. Paul, a walk and sketch with AIA St. Paul, and we had a really hot day, but it was a really good day to be walking around downtown looking at things. And I'd been thinking before the meeting, oh, so we're going to walk from Lower Town, and then we're going to walk to, Mears Park, and then we're going to walk, and we're going to do an overlook of the river, and we're going to go, see the upper landing, and then we're going to go, maybe we could get all the way to Irvine Park, and we can see the cathedral on the hill, and we can, this, that. And all of that language was language invented in the last 150 years. Not what any of those places were ever called before.
Right.
So our ownership, if we call it that, if the roots that we have are that short, how do we start to broaden our view of what that land is? And part of it is by understanding that, some of these things are not that old. They may be as old as the colonization, but that doesn't mean that that's what it is or that's how I should think about it. Can I think about this space differently? Kind of digging up in the backyard when I'm playing around with dirt. No, there's no. And no, we found one bone, but we think it was a cow. Oh. But there's a lot of sand and there's a lot of river rock.
So there's a river here?
So there was a river on top of the bluff at one point in time. And we also know that there were lakes up there that all got filled in. And so as you look around,
our neighborhood could have been a lake.
Your neighborhood probably was a lake for a while.
Okay.
And if you look at kind of the rolling hills, you know that there were streams that went through the area as well. Hyde Mill Road, there used to be a mill and there used to be a stream that went down that. Now there's a railroad track and a road. There's a lot of just hidden time that we're missing out on, and missing out on the hidden time and also missing out on the folks that are still here that has been part of their history for 10,000, 12,000 years.
So do we as newcomers get to claim it as our own space too?
Or are we just the newcomers, just like all of us are, and it's all relative? It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
A band called the Postal Service, and they have a line in one of their songs that says, "I am a visitor here. I am not permanent." Mm-hmm. And I think about that all the time, where I'm like, okay, how can I make the best of what is in front of me right now?
Yeah.
How can I be a better steward of the space of these stories and allow people to have space? I think about Hmong people a lot too. We lived in Laos. We migrated from China down the mountains to Laos. They dispersed into Vietnam, Thailand. And so there was never actually any country that we lived in. And then as we come here, as we are forced here, there's no actual country here too, and we are forced to live here. And so it's like, how do we have a sense of home? And then do we have a right to claim that, on stolen land, on all these things? And then also, what is the path forward on that and all that? So I don't know if there's ever I don't know if guilt is the right word, or question of how do I
don't think we're going to solve it through guilt. I think we can solve some of the racial issues through responsibility.
Okay. But
guilt will just make you think like you're doing something when you're not doing anything. You're just feeling bad.
Well, that's every day of my life. So that's not going to stop.
I hope not.
Yeah. Okay, so you do a lot of stuff outside of work. You're part of your church board?
I'm chair of our facilities committee, which means I'm on our church council, yes, right now.
And then you also are the president of tell me what you're the president
So
of.
I'm almost future past president of AIA St. Paul. Done. Yeah, so I've just got about another month left, and then we've got a new president that comes in, but I'll be past president for a year.
Okay.
And so that still has responsibilities for AIA St. Paul chapter.
Okay. And then you're a musician.
And then I'm on a music scholarship committee, the Budnick Williams Scholarship Committee. Okay. So we hire performers.
Who does it benefit?
Students at Wayzata High School.
Okay.
So we provide, this year is kind of interesting. There are scholarships that are going to be provided. I know.
I'm just kidding.
I know. This is.
We do not talk about.
I live in Ramsey County, and I don't know. I grew up in Hennepin. And,
I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. What is it?
There's scholarships for kids, but this year there's something interesting. There's a conductor who's actually doing workshops with students and then writing a piece that they'll perform.
Okay.
So it's a commissioned work. It's kind of interesting. So that's kind of fun, but it's music adjacent. How's that? Mm-hmm. So I'm in a band called Mucilage, which played their first show, I think, in June of 1986 or 85.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
So you're almost 40 years old as a band.
So the band is almost 40 years old, and I've been playing with them since maybe 1990. I was trying to think back of how did they invite me over, kind of thing, and I don't quite have that story down yet. I know when I first started writing some lyrics for some songs that they had already recorded, and this is what we're doing, and by June that was all done and ready to make a bunch of cassettes. So we did that.
So why is it important for you to do things that are outside of your day job? To do things that are outside of stuff that you're just like
not very good at. So
no. That you're not like, I'm in charge. I have to be in charge. I have to come up with an
agenda. Why aren't I a
Yeah.
professional at all the things that I'm working on? One of the things, I approach architecture a little bit differently as well. I like to think about it from an infrastructural standpoint. Like the reason why the plane leaves is because the bags get on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
If the bags don't get on the plane doesn't leave. So to me, the BHS is almost as important as the checkpoints, or more so.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more so. So I've got a little different perspective on some things. Growing up in the hinterlands in Maple Grove, which is not Ramsey County.
They call it the hinterlands?
No, no one calls it the hinterlands, except maybe I did. There were farms around us. That's all we had were farms.
Sounds very romantic to call it the hinterlands.
Out in the hinterlands, out in the dales.
I grew up around that area too. I grew up in Brooklyn Park.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of hinterlands, wasn't it?
No.
Okay. But
it was the suburbs.
My dad grew up on a farm, and he knew how to tear apart everything and put it all back together, whether it was electrical or plumbing. And he was an agricultural engineer, so he worked on food process control systems. So he had to understand, how did things work? What does water look like in terms of plumbing? What does steam look like? Everything, etc. And so I think I saw from him a lot of opportunities to learn and do lots of different things that you better be good at, but you're probably not an expert at. Jack of all trades. So as I look at some of the things I do, that's what I can do. And so when I write a piece of music and I bring it to the band and say, what do you think? And they go, well, we have no idea what to do with that. It's like, I don't either, but could we try? It's because I play guitar, but I don't play guitar. They make me sing, but I'm not a singer. I like knowing about a lot of things. I like doing a lot of different things. My wife is really into rocks and has been forever, so I collect dirt instead. But she's polishing rocks, and so we're collecting rocks, and so we'll be out collecting. I'll say, okay, I don't know what we're looking for. She says, well, look for the green rocks. I say, okay, we're going to look for, unakite. And so I find all the green rocks, and I can find the green rocks, and we bring those home, and she's, good work, good work. But that's not me being an expert at rock collecting. That's me looking for green rocks. And I think I may do a lot of that I've got varied interests, and I get to use that for everything I get to do at work. Mm-hmm. So if it's about stone, I get to be thinking about native materials that we have here, and how can we use them in such a way that talks about sense of place, that kind of feeds, that I can feed me to work rather than bringing work home, because I don't need an airport at my house.
You're really noisy. I'd be like, shut up, Alan.
We've got one in St. Paul already. Thank you very much. We don't need another one. But that idea of stewardship, I think, is kind of interesting too, because we know enough to be able to understand how do we guide things. So if it's a church, it's stewardship of the building, and a church doesn't need a building, but we have a building, so we have to take care of it. At the house, the 135-year-old house is hopefully lives another 200, 300, 400 years, and I'm just a small part of that stewardship. The airport, same way. How do we steward that so that we're the best caretakers of both the resource, the money, as well as the resource, the thing, to make certain that it provides that space where people are safe, they feel comfortable if they're coming home, that they feel like they've come home. Music is probably kind of the same way. I mean, if I had to, I could probably learn a few more instruments. I should. Maybe even how to play them well, rather than just play them the way I do. So the band, the music is being able to get together. We've called it, Tuesday Night Music Club for a long time. That's really good. We're going to talk to Sheryl Crow about that, because I think she might have stolen that from us. we'll get together, we'll play. Our bassist is writing a tremendous amount of new music, which is helping all of us see how can we write more music too. And so we released something back in June, Legends of Imperial Hills, which is, 31 minutes of rock and roll. How's that?
So you collect rocks in another way.
Yeah, exactly. I put the rocks at the top of the hill. The rectangular ones have a hard time rolling, but the round ones. So it's fun. It's a good hobby. A friend of mine told me once, if you were going to play arenas, you would have done so when you were 20. She was really kind that night.
So tell me, this is the last question for you.
Do I have to get this one right?
No.
Because I haven't got any
no right or
yet.
wrong answer.
Okay. Oh.
I've been asking all my guests this. What do you want people to see when they see you? Because your work represents a lot of you, but some people, when they meet me, they're not like, oh, I know you from your job. I know you from this other thing that you do. What do you feel would be the best representation?
Yeah. So I have 12 answers. Okay. And there are probably two pieces here which are hilarious going through my mind right now. One is what do they think when they see me? The second is, what do I really want? I would like to always have the opportunity in a relationship to provide ideas so that we grow. Those are hard things because sometimes it means we change. One of us, both of us, the world around us. The way I get to think at work is not about tomorrow. It's about a long ways out. And I'm concerned about tomorrow, and we should be making certain that tomorrow happens the way tomorrow should happen. We should not, if today was bad, we should not have tomorrow be the same way. We can certainly make it better. But a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish are sometimes well outside the bounds of someone's career even. And so, a response that says, well, I'm going to be retired by then. It's like, well, that's great. Who do you want to send to the meeting that will take this seriously? I want to be the person in the room that allows those conversations to happen so that we can think about what that future looks like together.
Because, so you want to be a steward again?
Because that's important, yeah. Yeah, if I can. And I know most times I have conflicting thoughts about whether or not I should share. Here's what I think. And here's what I think we should do. And these are the 5 ways we do it. And let's just go. Versus trying to be better at hearing everyone who had a bad experience yesterday and who's worried about tomorrow and isn't retired by the time we're actually doing the project we're talking about. We need to take all that input seriously and make certain that it's not just opinion, but it's fact-based, number one. But number two, we can also take their life experience into account. Okay. So that when I show up and when we share, it's a relatively safe space, even though we're going to do hard things together. It's a terrible answer.
No, it's a great answer. And I lied, actually. I have another question. I've been thinking about this question a while.
Blue or green. But it's 42.
I feel
unless it's 6 was 9.
Well, but so for as long as I've known you, your uniform has been a mock turtleneck. And
are you mocking me?
No. But my question for you is, are you scared that some of these turtlenecks will actually be, or these mock turtlenecks will actually be actual turtlenecks when you're putting it on? You're like, this was the wrong thing that I put on today.
I wish my neck were shorter.
It's a joke question.
It is. So a long time ago, bad things happened. And since then, I've decided that I don't want to think about what I have to wear every day.
Okay.
And
just like Steve Jobs.
I bought mock turtlenecks in 1985 and I kind of still like them. So I have 8 of them and I wash them and wear them. I'm that simple.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, you. This is great.
Between Two Urns is hosted by me, Yua Vang. Technical support and editing is provided by Chris Koza. Our theme song, Swaying Trees, is written by Chris Koza. Between Two Urns is made possible by a grant from the Harlan Boss Foundation. For more information about Ramsey County Historical Society, please visit www.rchs.com. Thanks for listening.